The world watched in astonishment as President Trump, in a whirlwind of executive action, unleashed a series of tariffs on allies and rivals alike. This bold move was part of his broader strategy to reshape global trade dynamics and assert American dominance on the world stage. The tariffs were not just economic measures, they were political statements, signaling a new era of American protectionism. Mexico, China, and even the European Union found themselves in the crosshairs of his America First agenda. These nations, each with their own complex trade relationships with the United States, were suddenly thrust into a state of economic uncertainty. The ripple effects of these tariffs were felt far and wide, impacting industries and economies across the globe. But it was the tariffs levied against Canada, a steadfast ally and neighbor, that sent shockwaves of disbelief and anger across the border. The close economic ties between the two nations meant that any disruption would have significant consequences. Canadian officials and business leaders were quick to voice their concerns, warning of the potential damage to both economies. These tariffs, targeting everything from steel and aluminum to dairy and lumber, signaled a seismic shift in the global trade landscape. Industries that had long relied on stable trade agreements were now facing an uncertain future. The tariffs threatened to upend supply chains, increase costs, and create a ripple effect that would be felt by businesses and consumers alike. This approach raised concerns among the international community, who watched closely, uncertain about the future. The tariffs, ranging from 10% to 25%, sparked immediate condemnation from business leaders and economists on both sides of the border. Many warned that these measures would not only disrupt international trade, but also harm domestic industries, leading to job losses and economic downturns. This growing tension over economic stability became a significant point of contention between the U.S. and its trading partners, especially Canada. They warned of job losses, price hikes, and disruptions to intricately interwoven supply chains. The interconnected nature of modern economies meant that any disruption in one area could have cascading effects elsewhere. Factories could face shutdowns, and consumers might see higher prices for everyday goods. The tariffs, they argued, would hurt American consumers and businesses as much as their intended targets. Small businesses in particular were vulnerable to the increased costs and supply chain disruptions. The broader economic impact was a growing concern, with many questioning the long-term benefits of such a protectionist approach. Given the global ramifications of this issue, we felt it was essential to create this video to offer a deeper perspective and discuss the far-reaching consequences of these developments.
The United States and Canada share a long and storied history, marked by deep economic, cultural, and security ties. This relationship has been built over centuries, evolving through various phases of cooperation and mutual support. The two nations, bound together by geography, shared values, and intertwined economies, had long been the epitome of a special relationship. Their proximity has fostered a unique bond, allowing for seamless collaboration in numerous fields. From the early days of exploration and trade to the two world wars, Canadians and Americans fought side by side, forging a bond of trust and mutual respect. This camaraderie was not just limited to the battlefield, but extended into various aspects of life, including scientific research and cultural exchanges. This partnership extended beyond the battlefield, encompassing everything from joint management of the world's longest undefended border to collaborative efforts in law enforcement and public safety. The seamless cooperation between border patrols exemplifies the trust and coordination that define this relationship. To close cooperation on issues ranging from environmental protection to counter-terrorism. Both nations have recognized the importance of preserving natural resources and ensuring the safety of their citizens through joint initiatives and shared intelligence. The economic relationship between the two countries was particularly robust, with billions of dollars in goods and services flowing across the border each day. This economic interdependence has created a dynamic and thriving trade environment, benefiting businesses and consumers on both sides. To understand why these tariffs feel like a betrayal, we need to look at the history. Canada and the US have been more than just neighbors. They've been partners. Think about NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, which was later updated to the USMCA. These agreements weren't just about trade, they were about building a shared future. Canada has consistently supported the US, not just economically, but diplomatically and militarily. From fighting together in world wars to standing shoulder to shoulder in NATO, Canada has always had America's back. This economic interdependence, however, became a point of contention during the Trump presidency. The imposition of tariffs and renegotiation of trade agreements brought new challenges to the long-standing partnership, testing the resilience and adaptability of both nations.
The announcement of tariffs on Canadian goods was met with a mixture of disbelief, anger, and a profound sense of betrayal in Canada. The news spread like wildfire, with headlines capturing the shock and dismay of a nation that had always considered the United States its closest ally. People gathered around their televisions and smartphones trying to make sense of the sudden and unexpected move by the Trump administration. For a country that had always prided itself on its close relationship with the United States, the tariffs felt like a slap in the face. The deep-rooted ties between the two nations, built over decades of cooperation and mutual respect, seemed to be unraveling in an instant. The sense of betrayal was palpable, as Canadians grappled with the implications of this new reality. Canadians were quick to highlight their country's long-standing contributions to American security and prosperity. From World War II battlefields to helping stranded American travelers during the 9/11 attacks, Canada has been a steadfast ally. For many Canadians, Trump's tariffs are not simply about money, they feel like a personal and national betrayal. Canada has always stood by the U.S. during times of crisis, offering support when it was most needed. However, these economic policies from Trump suggest that Canada is now being viewed as just another competitor rather than a trusted friend. The shared sacrifices and collaborative efforts in times of need had created a bond that many believed was unbreakable, making these tariffs feel like a significant breach of trust. From providing troops for peacekeeping missions around the globe, ensuring stability and peace in regions fraught with conflict, to serving as a reliable supplier of energy and raw materials, Canada had always been a steadfast partner. The energy trade between the two countries had fueled economic growth and development, benefiting both nations immensely. Critics contended that the tariffs were more than just economically damaging, they jeopardized the stability of a decades-long trade partnership. The repercussions were swift and far-reaching, as businesses on both sides of the border faced significant financial strain, and the ripple effects were felt across global financial markets. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, standing alongside provincial and territorial leaders, presented a united front against the Trump administration's tariffs. He called the tariffs unjust and harmful, arguing that they hurt workers on both sides of the border and damaged the long-standing economic and diplomatic relationship between Canada and the United States. With visible frustration, Trudeau made it clear that Canada views these tariffs as a deep betrayal from a country it has long considered a close ally. Premiers from across the country stood with Trudeau in strong opposition. They warned that these tariffs would threaten key industries such as steel, agriculture, and manufacturing, leading to job losses and increased costs for businesses and consumers alike. Leaders from Atlantic Canada, the Prairies, and the North reinforced the message that Canada is united in defending its economy and will not be bullied into unfair trade policies. Despite their political differences, all of Canada's leaders agreed that these tariffs were a direct attack on Canadian workers and businesses. Trudeau reminded the world that Canada has always been a reliable ally, standing shoulder to shoulder with the U.S. in times of crisis. From fighting alongside American troops in global conflicts, to building strong trade agreements like NAFTA and USMCA, the two nations have historically worked together for mutual benefit. Historical images of Canadian and American soldiers, past trade negotiations, and cross-border partnerships serve as a testament to this deep and enduring friendship, a friendship now being tested by these tariffs.
Faced with what it perceived as an existential threat to its economic interests and international standing, Canada refused to back down. In a strong and strategic move, the Canadian government announced retaliatory tariffs on a broad range of American goods, aiming to put maximum economic and political pressure on the Trump administration. The 25% tariff, covering 155 billion Canadian dollars worth of US imports, targets key industries and consumer products. Affected goods include passenger vehicles and trucks, including electric vehicles, steel and aluminum products, certain fruits and vegetables, aerospace products, beef, pork, dairy, recreational vehicles, recreational boats, and commercial trucks and buses. By focusing on industries vital to the US economy, Canada is making it clear that it is prepared to stand up against unfair trade policies while protecting its own economic interests. The Canadian government, however, was careful to frame its response not as an act of aggression, but as a measured and proportionate defense of its national interests. Prime Minister Trudeau, while acknowledging the need to stand up for Canadian workers and businesses, emphasized the importance of maintaining a constructive dialogue with the United States. The goal, he insisted, was not to escalate the trade war, but to find a negotiated solution that addressed the concerns of both countries.
So where does this leave us? Do these tariffs signal a shift in how the U.S. views Canada? From a trusted ally to a competitor or even an adversary? It's hard to say. On one level, the U.S. and Canada are still deeply interconnected. The trade relationship is worth billions of dollars, and millions of jobs depend on it. But on another level, these tariffs suggest a growing tension, a sense that the U.S. no longer sees Canada as a partner, but as a rival. And that's a dangerous shift. Because when trust is broken, it's not just about trade, it's about the broader relationship. If Canada can't trust the U.S., who can it trust? And if the U.S. sees Canada as an adversary, what does that mean for the future of North America?
When you look at the broader picture, both countries stand to lose. The tariffs create a ripple effect that impacts not just the economies but also the people. It's clear that these tariffs are not just numbers on a spreadsheet. They affect real lives, real jobs, and real communities.
Historically, U.S. Canada trade relations have been robust, with both countries benefiting immensely. But now, businesses are seeking alternative paths to mitigate the impact.
Companies are exploring new markets and diversifying their supply chains to reduce dependency on any single country. Trump's tariffs may be aimed at strengthening the U.S. economy and tackling issues like illegal immigration and the fentanyl crisis under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEEPA. However, these measures come at a high price. They strain diplomatic ties and damage the long-standing trade relationship with one of America's most trusted allies, Canada. Instead of fostering cooperation, the tariffs risk deepening economic tensions and undermining decades of mutual trust between the two nations. The impact extends beyond economics. It also affects political trust and public perception. Many Canadians see these tariffs as an unfair attack on a country that has historically stood shoulder to shoulder with the US in trade, security, and diplomacy. With diplomatic channels open, was it necessary to impose such strict tariffs without first seeking a resolution through discussion? Canada has always been willing to negotiate, yet these sudden trade restrictions raise questions about whether the US still sees Canada as a partner or simply a competitor. So what do you think? Are these tariffs a betrayal or just a tough negotiation tactic? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out the related video on your screen for more fascinating content. Explore our channel for even more exciting videos. If you found this one informative, be sure to share it with your friends and subscribe for more engaging content. See you in the next video.